You're driving to work and someone cuts you off. Your day just went from bad to worse. You feel your blood pressure rising. You start to sweat. Invites us to approach anger not as something to suppress, but as something to understand, discipline, and ultimately transcend. The Stoics didn't deny the existence of anger. They saw it as a natural impulse that, when left unchecked, leads to poor judgment, regret, and loss of inner freedom. For Stoics like Seneca, anger was one of the most dangerous emotions because it removes reason, our highest human faculty. That's why training the mind daily was essential. Stoic training involves recognizing that anger is not caused by events, but by our interpretation of them. Someone insults you, that's their action. Your anger is your reaction, and therefore, your responsibility. To train like a Stoic is to practice pause over reaction, understanding over assumption, and reason over rage. It means starting the day by mentally preparing for conflict and disrespect, not with fear, but with clarity. It means asking, is this worth my peace? Am I reacting from ego or principle? Over time, Stoic training builds emotional strength, not coldness, but control, not passivity, but purpose. The Stoic doesn't avoid confrontation. They simply refuse to let it dominate their mind. In a world where anger is often glorified or triggered by ego, injustice, or pride, Stoicism teaches us this. The calmer you are, the stronger you become. And that's why when anger rises, the best response isn't more fire. It's Stoic discipline. Is more than a call to manage your temper. It's an invitation to build emotional mastery through philosophy. In Stoicism, anger is not seen as strength or righteous power. It is viewed as weakness, a failure of reason, and a threat to inner peace. The Stoics taught that whenever we lose our temper, we surrender our freedom. We allow someone else's actions to control our mind. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, wrote an entire work titled On Anger, where he warned that anger is a form of temporary madness. It leads to irrational words, destructive choices, and often deep regret. But the Stoics didn't just criticize anger, they trained daily to rise above it. Training like a Stoic means starting the day with mental preparation. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself each morning that he would meet people who are rude, ignorant, or selfish, and that he must not be surprised or shaken by this. This is premeditatio malorum, the practice of anticipating challenges so you can meet them calmly, not reactively. A Stoic trains through reflection, journaling, meditation, and voluntary discomfort. These practices build mental resilience, helping us pause before reacting, understand rather than explode, and choose reason over ego. A Stoic doesn't repress emotions. They understand them deeply, then respond with clarity and virtue. In today's world, where outrage is constant and offense is easy, training like a Stoic is radical and empowering. It's not about being passive, it's about refusing to give your power away. It's the practice of remaining composed when provoked, of choosing patience over pride and wisdom over impulse. So, when anger arises, the Stoic doesn't lash out. They pause, they reflect, and they respond in a way that honors their character, not their emotions. Because the real strength isn't in expressing your rage, it's in not needing to. Unfortunately, most people don't have the self-control to harness their anger and end up using it incorrectly. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." People who lack self-control let their emotions overpower them, and end up saying things they shouldn't, or doing things they later regret. One of the reasons Jesus was able to endure the crucifixion was because he understood the difference between righteous anger and toxic anger. When he was facing his trial with Pontius Pilate, Jesus said, "You are right in saying, I am king, but I was born for this very reason, and for this I came into the world, for this I was born, for this is the will of my Father who sent me." In this passage, Jesus shows us that we can have righteous anger. He had a purpose, a mission, and he was going to accomplish it no matter what. He wasn't going to let anyone stop him. If you want to learn how to train your anger, just like Jesus, make sure you stick around until the end of this episode. What does the research say? The first step to training yourself to become less angry is to understand the science behind anger. There are two systems in our brain that control our emotional state: the rational mind and the limbic system. The limbic system controls our base emotions and survival instincts, and the rational mind helps us think clearly and make logical decisions. When you are angry, the limbic system takes over and floods your body with adrenaline, cortisol, and testosterone, making it difficult to think clearly and putting you on the fast track to burnout. So how do we hack this system? According to researchers at Harvard Medical School, there are 3 simple things that you can do to calm down your nervous system. 1. Deep breathing. When you breathe deeply, you send a clear signal to your body that it's okay to relax. This lowers your stress hormones and activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming you down. 2. Progressive muscle relaxation. This is when you tense and then relax different muscles in your body, starting with your toes and moving up to your head. By tensing and relaxing these muscles, you release built-up tension and promote feelings of calmness. 3. Meditation and mindfulness. These practices help you focus on the present moment without judgment. Over time, you will build the capacity to observe your thoughts and emotions without reacting to them. This will allow you to distance yourself from the anger and choose how you want to respond instead of reacting. So now that we understand the science behind anger and how to calm ourselves down, let's talk about why we should avoid anger at all costs. There are many reasons why anger is bad for us. First of all, anger can lead to impulsive behavior. We've all seen someone who gets so angry that they say or do something they regret. This is because anger clouds our judgment and makes it difficult to think clearly. Secondly, anger can damage our relationships. When we are angry, we say things without thinking, and we can hurt people deeply. We can also become physically aggressive, which can put ourselves and others in danger. Finally, anger can harm our health. As we mentioned earlier, anger triggers the release of stress hormones, which can increase our blood pressure and heart rate. Over time, this can lead to serious health problems such as heart disease and stroke. Now let's talk about how to train ourselves to become less angry. Just like a muscle, the more we practice, the better we will become. Here are 5 tips to help you on your journey. First, learn to recognize your triggers. What makes you angry? Is it certain people, places, or things? Once you know what sets you off, you can start to develop strategies for coping with it. Second, don't avoid your anger. Many people try to ignore their anger or push it away, but this only makes it worse. Instead, learn to feel your anger and experience it fully. This doesn't mean you have to act on it. It just means you need to acknowledge it and let it be there without judgment. Third, take some time to cool off before you react. This could mean taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk, or talking to a friend. But whatever you do, don't make any major decisions or take any major actions while you're still angry. Fourth, focus on the solution, not the problem. When you're angry, it's easy to dwell on the problem and feel sorry for yourself. But this doesn't do anything to fix the situation. Instead, focus on finding a solution to the problem. Ask yourself what you can do to make things better. Fifth, forgive yourself and others. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's not healthy for you, and it doesn't do anything to improve the situation. Learn to let go of your anger and move on. You may be wondering how long it will take to train your anger. The answer is it depends. It depends on how much effort you're willing to put in, and how badly you want to change. But don't worry, it's not a lifelong commitment. With enough practice, you can learn to control your anger and live a more peaceful life. If you want to level up, we will leave a few extra resources in the description below. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.